In today's video, we are going to be making a little cat toy using decorative machine stitches. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts, and today I want to show you how you can use the decorative machine stitches on your sewing machine to make a cute little cat toy. Alright, so this gives you an opportunity to use the decorative stitches in a really fun and useful project. So what do you need to make this little toy? Well, you're going to need some felt, alright? 2 pieces of felt that are larger than the shape you want to create. So for example here, this little guy, you can see how my felt is much bigger than it, okay? And it doesn't have to be the same shape yet, we'll get to that. So a big piece of, rectangle, square, whatever is going to be large enough that you've got lots of extra room around what's going to be your little toy. All right, so we got 2 pieces here. You also will want to have lots of different colors of thread. So I picked 4 different colors of thread. You can pick 1 if you wanted to, but hey, 4 is more fun than 1, right? And I just picked some of these fun bright colors. More for me, I don't think the cats really care, but it's a good chance to practice some decorative stitches and have some fun with lots of colorful threads, right? You're going to need something to draw your shape, the fish shape in this case, on your felt. So I'm using a friction pen here, not to worry too much about it because we're going to be cutting this off eventually, but you need to have something that's dark enough that you can see it on whatever color felt that you have chosen. I've got white, so the black's going to work really well. Pinking shears are going to be needed at the end of the project. And if you want to, my cats like honeysuckle. So if you want to put some catnip or honeysuckle in, just makes it more fun for them, you're going to have some of that. And I used a little funnel to get that in. And of course, you're going to stuff it. So you're going to need some, polyfill. This is some polyfill or other type of stuffing. All right. So that's what you need to create this project. Now, the next thing you need to do is take 1 piece of felt only. I'm going to move my threads up out of the way so you can really see what I'm doing here. And I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I can draw a fish shape because I've done it once already. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little fish shape. Now, you can make this whatever shape you want. I just thought the fish was kind of cute. So I'm just going to draw on my felt here to get this little fish shape going. Okay, I'm going to move this down a little bit more to see how this is going to work, okay? And he's going to come down like this. Something like that, okay? I think that will work out pretty well. Now, once I've got the fish drawn, the next step is to gather up my threads and go to the machine, and we're going to add those decorative stitches just on the 1 piece of felt. So let's go and do that now. So when you're doing these decorative stitches, you want to make sure that you start and stop them past the design that you've drawn on the felt, because we're going to be trimming this down later, so you don't want to just keep it in here because there's actually, as you can see, some excess going along the outside there, so you want to make sure that those stitches are going into those areas. Okay, so that means starting and going like this sort of thing. Okay, now I am not going to make you watch me do 10 different decorative stitches here, but I will show you at least one of them. So I'm working on a Janome M7. There's lots and lots of decorative stitches here. One thing I will say to you is that because this is, rather small, you probably want to adjust the settings on those decorative stitches. So make them a little narrower probably, rather than, a lot of them maybe 9 millimeters. You probably don't want them quite that wide. Depends on how many you want to put on your little cat toy. So I'm going to show you just one of them here. I'm actually working with stitch H26 on here, and it is actually 3 millimeters wide and 2.5 long, so that's fine. We're just going to play with it, and I'm just going to put it up somewhere near the front of the fish here, and we'll just go along and do that. All right, so here's what we've got so far. Our first stitch, isn't it exciting? All right, so you can see how I've gone past on both sides there. So when I trim this, that I'm still going to have those stitches in there. So I would just continue on adding as many decorative stitches in as many different colors of thread as I want. And then the next step is to put this together with some backing, right? The other piece of felt we've got, we're going to bring that into play now. So I'm going to finish off this little guy here. So I've got something to show you so it doesn't just look like this. So I can make another cat toy, and then I'll show you the next step in this project. So this is what I have stitched on this fish, a little less than these, but you know, it still looks good, right? I think the cats will like it. All right, so the next thing to do is to get that other piece of felt, and you want to put them together, making sure that they are roughly, they don't have to be approximately the same size, but you want to make sure it's going to cover that area that you've stitched on already, right? And you can pin them in place if you want with the felt. It usually stays pretty well. But something else I didn't mention to you is when you're doing these decorative stitches to slow down a little bit, okay? If you go too fast, you can find that they can distort a little bit. But the nice thing is with the felt, you don't need to put any stabilizer behind them. It works pretty well for most stitches unless you get something really, really, really dense. So the next step is to stitch around that drawn outline. I'm going to use pink thread, and you want to make sure you leave that gap so you can stuff it with the polyfill and either your catnip or your honeysuckle. All right, so let's get started on that. So I'm going to leave the gap up in this area here, and we're just going to start stitching somewhere around here. And I'm going to lock my stitches when I start here. And continue on. And we're going to slow down a little bit here. We don't need to go too fast. And if I'm not exactly on the outline, that's okay too, right? Close is good. And maybe one more. And lock stitches again. All right, so there's my little fish stitched out. Take off my pins, of course. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut around here. It's not our final cut, but we want to get rid of some of this extra felt, and then we're going to do some stuffing, right? I'm going to put some stuffing in, put a bit of catnip in or honeysuckle, and continue stuffing. And then we'll come back and we'll finish this. So I'm going to do the stuffing right now, and then I'll come back and show you how we finish this off and the final trimming as well. So I have my little toy stuffed, and there's some honeysuckle in it as well, but I have to close this opening here. So I made sure it's stuffed really well. Okay, and then I want to stitch just that opening there. I want to stitch it closed. So I'm going to do that next. I can get it under my foot. This is the toughest part. All right, so I got to find where I stopped stitching. Make sure I'm going to go over that. Here we go. Lock my stitches. And I may have to help this along a bit. All right, there we go. Okay, so a couple more things to do, nothing too difficult. First thing I need to do is to do some trimming. So I'm going to use some pinking shears, and I want to trim all the way around here. So I'm going to be cutting off some of this excess felt and some of those stitches. So you can see now why I want to make sure those stitches are going to extend past that drawn line. So I'm going to carefully use my pinking shears to trim this off, hopefully without cutting into the stitches. I mean, that are inside the fish. Okay, I'm going to be cutting through some of them obviously, but. So I'm just finishing up here. Last little bit here. All right, so there we have our little fish. And the last thing to do would be to take an iron to get those friction marks off. And then it's ready for the final test, of course. Well, I'm not sure how much she likes it, but I have 3 other cats in the house I can try it out with. Okay. Thanks for watching. If you're wondering what else you can do with decorative stitches, don't worry, I got you covered. Check out this video that has all the information that you need. And for more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.